Hello everyone and welcome back to Stoneblock 4. Last time we were here, we set up all of our machinery in this room. However, I did say I was going to move it down into its separate areas, but I just simply haven't had the time to put aside to building quite yet, but before the next episode, I will make sure we get that done. So for now, we're going to go speak to the Echo of Guidance. Even though I said I wasn't going to jump right into Hyperion yet, we're going to go see what he has to offer us, and then we can decide from there. Searching databank for last known location of Ascended Echo Archives. Archives could not be located. System analysis complete. The WERK has encountered an unexpected error. The final echoes remain unreachable to the system. Consult the Echo of Wyrmwright, who may have some methods of uncovering traces of the Ascended Echo Archives. Alright, so it seems like we have to go speak with the Echo of Wyrmwright, and that has unlocked everything except the random chaotic gear quest here, and I do want to use this as soon as it is unlocked, by the way. Awakened gear sounds fun. We're gonna buy 4 of them. Can't hurt. Okay, it's just the models. I wonder if there's anything else from this. No, it is... Okay, no, we can get all of the weapons too. Well, we only got modules, but those are fine as well. But yes, we want to buy the chaotic ones later. I think that'll just be fun to spend our money on. We don't have anything else to do with our coins, to be honest. But yeah, I guess we have to go speak with the Wyrmwright to see where our new Echo friends might lie.
One thing about dragons is that we can sense our kin across time and space. Wherever my brother is, I know he'll hear me. He always does. He's a chaotic little wormling though, so don't expect him to be somewhere easy to get to. Normally I'd take you there myself, but as you already know, I'm just a binary recollection of my memories. Still, there's always hope. To get there, you'll need to fuse advanced draconic cores with Fortron, Chronon, Swords, and temper it in a shoal fire. With luck, the process will carry my draconic will into a component strong enough to open a path to him.
Alright, so we have to craft a chronoton resonator, which is cool, because everything he's saying here we have. As far as I know, that is. So I guess we'll head home. So I guess we're gonna have to craft this Chronon resonator, which requires all of the upgrades we've so far gathered. And that's it, I guess, which is pretty simple. Now, the one thing I haven't actually done is set up source into our ME system, and you can buy source housings from the Echo Enchanter. So I'm actually gonna go back to spawn and grab some of these for myself. Why not? Let's just buy 8 of them. Can't hurt. And then we'll just grab some 256k cores, and that should be more than enough source for any use we're ever going to need it for. Also, I installed elevators here so we can come down to our self storage because I had no way of getting down here. Yeah, we can just throw these in here. I also made too many. We already have 20,000 source in our ME system, and basically all this guy does is I have a source jar here that is slowly taking source from the ergonomic source link we have, and it's just importing it into our system. Nothing fancy, just an extended import bus going into a wireless connector. And now that we have source in our system, we should be able to set up autocrafting for this because we have Shoalfire, we have source, and we have Fortron. All we're going to need is a bit of power, or actually 39 billion FE, so a decent amount of power. And then we need some chronoton glass, wyvern core, time crystals, so one thing we don't have yet, teleportation cores, and chronon batteries. So everything here is pretty simple to make. The teleportation cores are luckily duplicatable, and we got some from, I think it was either a gift of pebbles or quantum goats or something of the sort. So that in and of itself is easy to craft. Also, the recipe for teleportation cores isn't hard by any means, but if we go ahead and make it, so we're missing both the chronon battery, the chronoton glass, and then the time crystal. So those are the 3 things we have to worry about. Now, the chronon battery itself is pretty easy. We can set up the recipe for this guy. All it needs is some time steel, and time steel is very simply energized steel in a world engine, so we'll set up the recipe for that guy. And you know what? I'm going to do 64 at a time for this, and now we'll process 64 at a time. And what else do we want? We want chronoton glass set up. Now this does require a chronoton star, which I'm not sure. Oh no, we get the depleted one back. That's correct. So yes, we should be able to set the recipe for this guy because you can just refill your depleted one, and we should be able to set up an infinite cycle with this. And then time crystals, we have everything for this as well. We have the entro crystals, and we have the fluxite, and we have the void flame fuel. So luckily, we can make that recipe as well. And if we go into our pattern provider here, and then we can scroll down to what is dummy in our extended pattern provider here and place all the patterns in it. However, one thing I haven't done yet is rename our pattern provider on this guy. And to simply do this, all you need is a quartz cutting knife. You right click and we'll call it World Engine. And now this pattern provider is searchable as World Engine. So very simple fix. Also, we do have to make that extended because this is not enough pattern space. However, if we try to make the Chronon Resonator recipe now, we should have everything in our system to do this. So we once again go into here, place it into our world engine, and hopefully, oh, you know what? I'm going to go up to the world engine specifically and make sure this is on blocking mode. Then we'll head back to the base and we'll try to make it. And also, as you see here, I'm just making a bunch of chaos fragments with our liquid chaos. But yeah, anyways, we're going to go ahead and try to make one Chronon resonator. And we're missing reinforced glass. Very simple fix. Test 2, Chronon resonator. Everything's available. Let's see how it works. Okay, it's crafting energized steel. It's crafting that. It should be crafting the Chronon star. Okay. Now it's crafting another Chronon star to make some more Chronotron glass. Chronotron glass is being recrafted, potentially. I hope it doesn't get stuck. Okay, part of me thinks it's gotten stuck, and I'm not sure where. So it seemingly has gone stuck with the recursive crafting of the depleted Chronoton star, I believe, which is unfortunate. No, it seems to be crafting. Okay, what is missing? Not enough energized steel found. Needed 0, but found none. Weird. 4,000, 10,000, 20,000 source. Oh, we don't have enough source in here. Why not? Was source not included in our recipe? So it doesn't seem like source can actually be moved through crafting recipes like this. So we are going to have to set a source jar here, which honestly isn't that big of a deal. It's very simple fix in all fairness. So I'll just bookmark our source and then drag it in. Very simple. And this should fill. Perfect. And then we'll just shift right click it in. And hopefully this should keep our system permanently filled with source. There we go. So this will always have 100,000 source buffer and there's no reason for it not to. However, now that that's solved, we should be able to head home and pick up our newly crafted Chronon resonator. And there we go. Now, I don't know what we have to do with this, so let's actually open the quest book and check out the Hyperion quest line. Okay, so we get a free $25. Nice. Another free 100. Awesome. And we have to go speak with the Wyrmwright again. Fair enough.
That's really it for me this time. Go meet the Ascended Echoborn and finish what we started.
So unfortunately, both of these new Echoborns are gating us from what we want to do, and that's getting the Chaos Staff of Power. Now, the reason we want this is because our poor baby, the Qatar here, was recently nerfed in the most recent update. And I'll show this off trying to go kill our friend Ignis here. When I right click, or when I use my special ability, it barely did 1/3 of his health. Obviously my left click still does a decent amount of damage, and we don't take much damage in return. However, I want to be able to one-shot things, which means I want the Chronon Staff of Power. Okay, Blaze, relax. And unfortunately, the Chaotic Staff of Power is locked behind Chaotic Crafting, and if you know anything about Draconic Evolution, Chaotic Crafting means we need the Chaotic Fusion Crafting Injector, that's a mouthful, which needs the Dark Matter Block and Void Container upgrades. Now, if we look in our quest book, we see the dark matter block is actually at the bottom here, so that means we'll need this to do the crafting we want, which in turn means we're going to need to set up another particle accelerator in this pack, which is fine. To be honest, it's not that big of a deal. However, we did get a new Chronon battery with a set location of the Fractured Void. We should be able to simply shift right click the air and open a time portal to who knows what. Let's dive in. And apparently who knows what is the event horizon of a black hole, because what is this? All right, so we have radiance, chaos, and infinity. And we are apparently underneath the lobby of the original world. However, this place is fantastic looking. I love using tinted glass like this to have a reflection floor. It looks great. We will pretend we don't see that thanks to shaders. But other than that, it does look fantastic in here. And we'll pretend we don't see that. So I guess we are to speak with the Wyrmwright's brothers. So we have both the Radiance here, which I assume will get us the Oratech particle accelerator. We have Chaos, which will be our Draconic Evolution guy, and we have Infinity way over here. Now, I don't know if Infinity will speak to us quite yet.
Living, breathing human within the void. How curious.
Knowledgeable though you may be, you are not yet prepared to face that which has no end. Return once you have completed the Chaos and Radiance World Engine upgrades. Interesting. And this guy sells us 1,000 hours for a temporal pouch. Just in case you didn't have enough, you can buy 1,000 hours from this guy. Also, this is how you get the Omega upgrade. But yeah, I guess we are not ready to speak with the Infinity upgrade, but we will go ahead and speak with the 2 new echoes that are unlocked.
Astonishing. I did not expect a human to withstand the collapse of the void. That alone confirms you were chosen. Furthermore, the draconic device in your possession tells me that WERK has selected you. which means your purpose aligns with ours, though your lifespan remains far more limited. My tasks will not be simple. While your world engine already channels a considerable amount of void energy, no echo has studied the void as intimately as I have. My upgrade will allow you to fully infuse your unrestrained power into your world engine. Prolonged exposure to the void's event horizon has enabled me to replicate its properties under controlled conditions. You must first create a black hole by accelerating particles with enough force to compress neutrons into a solid state. Using these neutron piles, you can convert nuclear waste into substance that, when supplied with an immense amount of energy, transforms into fluid antimatter. When solidified antimatter and red matter collide under sufficient force, a miniature black hole will form. Finally, you must contain the black hole within a vessel made with an awakened draconic alloy, the only material capable of enduring such raw power. You will also need solidified dark matter base to stabilize it within the world engine. Once you return, I will speak with the others to determine the optimal position for its integration in your world engine.
Interesting. Okay, so we have to create the void container, which we saw when we wanted to make the chaotic staff of power. However, we've also unlocked his shop, which gives us tier 9 add-ons, which is kind of cool, as well as radiant casings. So I assume that will maybe come in handy. I don't know, but considering the 10 coins, I assume we have to buy them. However, I don't even see the radiant casings in JEI, so I'm not sure what they're used for. Nevertheless, we do have one more to speak with.
A human here? Oh, that's improbable. You should have been torn apart the moment you entered the void. And yet, I detect my counterpart in this. So, they found a way to reach me after all, despite all of my warnings. Always so defiant. Always refusing to listen to me just because I was the younger one. Typical. Well, since you've made it here, I'll have to trust my counterpart knows what they're doing. We've been holding this realm together for what feels like forever. Time doesn't flow right here. It stretches endlessly, twisting around the event horizon. Every second, the void pushes harder and harder. Every second we push back, I don't know how much longer we can hold it, or how much of our knowledge the WERK will even retain when all of this eventually ends. Now listen closely. The awakened draconic core must be restored if you wish to upgrade your world engine. It was the most ingenious invention of our species, a capacitor capable of storing infinite amounts of energy. You will have to combine several hundred individual alloys into blocks before we can assemble it. Once that's done, you return to me and I'll assemble it myself. We must do whatever it takes to stop this collapse.
This is what I want to see. We have to craft a tier 8 draconic energy core, which means we need like 270 blocks of draconium and like 300 or whatever blocks of awakened draconium. So I don't want to head to spawn, I want to head home. And then we can take a look at these quests and see what we can actually complete. And our plan was to jump into fusion crafting anyways because we want the chaotic staff of power, so I may as well start on this one and see what this one is about once we get there. But I do see something about bringing home the chicken to get chaos shards, so our method of using fluid cows clearly wasn't the intended method, as we already knew. However, we want to get ourselves some awakened draconium blocks, which means we need the fusion crafting, and we need Wyvern fusion infusers. So we first need a fusion crafting core, which we'll throw into our world engine here. Then we also need ourselves some draconic fusion crafting injectors, which first of all we need the draconic cores for, and we'll make 8 of these guys. 8 is usually enough, I don't think we'll need more than that. And then we'll make 8 more, because we're going to have to upgrade them to Wyvern, which you do with a Wyvern core, a Draconium block, 2 Draconium cores, and 4 diamonds. So a very simple setup like this will allow us to do some Draconic fusion crafting, and I've just gone ahead and separated each one of these into their ingredients, so we'll just hopper them in from the back. You can obviously set this up with AE2 auto crafting. For now, we'll just use a hopper, and if we right click this fusion crafting core, we'll stick our Draconium fusion crafters inside of it, and as you see, all of the things are around it. We have the power, and we can click craft. And then slowly but surely, all the items get used, and it crafts for us. And there we go, we have 1 Wyvern core, and then we just gotta keep repeating this until we have all 8. And nothing a temporal pouch can't fix. So that unlocks 8 Wyvern crafting cores, and then we can just simply remove these guys, we'll never need them again. Place down our Wyvern cores, and this will allow us to make awakened draconium blocks. It is simply 6 draconium cores, 4 draconium blocks, and then a dragon heart. Now to get the dragon hearts themselves, which are duplicatable, so we only need the 1 for now. However, to get them, we need both fiery blood, draconium cores, infused dragon's breath, as well as the lifestone. Now we have all of these, except we do not have the lifestone. And we also need ether gas and fortron, which we have both of from our fluid cows. Well, fortron we have from our machine, but yes, we have fluid cow, ether gas luckily, but we need the lifestone, which is a weird recipe, I will say, because the body stone requires a cooking pot from Farmer's Delight, cooked bacon, and a hamburger. I'm not joking when I say this. I actually need to sit here and cut some pork on the floor. And we also need to make a burger, which means we need cabbage, onions, and tomatoes, as well as a beef patty. Now, beef patties is pretty simple. We just need one of our 1,000 pieces of raw beef. luckily, and these are easily just thrown into our system, which is good. However, this does mean we need tomato seeds, cabbage seeds, and onions, which we can get from the cutting board. So we'll just go ahead and grow some crops really fast, and with that, we should be good to make a burger. We also have a rotten tomato. Thank goodness. I was concerned we wouldn't get one. But yes, we now have hamburgers. Also, in a way, we could very simply set up burgers for autocrafting and feed these to our villagers, but obviously the hydro shops would be so much better for the unearthers. Once again, they're not working technically, so it doesn't really matter for that in that sense. Now we will get ourselves a cooking pot, and if we grab ourselves a stove and place it down, we can throw the cooking pot on top, and with everything in here, it should craft, except it's not. Why not? We need the blank slate. That's correct. So this means we both need the magmalith as well as deep slate in the world engine. I've already added the recipe for this guy, but the magmalith itself either requires us to pour lava over a double compressed basalt block in the smeltery or make a supercooler. Now the supercooler requires the world engine, so I went ahead and set up the recipe for this guy. I haven't used one of these since FTB Sky's expert mode because they were both used for the early game, like as early game smelteries pretty much, and they were really fun, and that recipe should work. Yes, perfect. So we'll grab ourselves some lava, which I don't know where we're getting lava from. Where am I getting lava from? Wait, I'm so confused. Where in our system do we have lava set up? You know what? I am very confused. Do we? Oh, we have a lava cow. Never mind. Okay, so we'll grab some lava. I will grab myself some double compressed basalt. And I believe this guy does need power, so we'll just slap him down on our powered tread. And if I right click some lava in here, this should automatically work, cool it off, and get us a magmalith. Perfect. Now, luckily, these are duplicatable, so we'll never have to actually set up auto crafting for it. Now, we should be able to make ourselves some blank slates. So we need 2 of them, 1 for each stone. And hopefully this works. Perfect. So that's 2 blank slates. Now, the soul stone itself is actually pretty easy to make. We have everything to craft that right away. And then the body stone we'll throw in here as a super bowl. And hopefully this works. Why are you not working still? You need experience. How do I give a cooking pot experience? I'm genuinely curious. I don't know how I give a cooking pot experience other than throwing a bottle of enchanting at it. I don't think that worked, right? No, it didn't. Okay, I didn't think that would work. Maybe? No, okay, that doesn't work. I don't use cooking for blockheads or farmer's delight or anything. Do I have to pump in experience? That'd be so weird, no? Down here, I have my experience holder with 1500 levels. And the way this guy's working, by the way, is I'm pumping both the essence we get from Industrial Foregoing, as well as bottle of enchantings that we get from our chickens. And these chickens are simply going into a fluid tank here. The fluid tank is being exported into the experience holder, and then the bottles are being trashed. Yeah, this is just an infinite cycle of having experience. It's basically my XP farm. However, I do want to grab some experience. I have 93 levels. I don't know why I came down here. However, I will grab my experience obelisk for what it's worth. Let me just put my dog to sit. I don't think this is how you get experience into it, because that does not look like it connects. It definitely doesn't. Okay. How do you get experience into a cooking pot? Guys, we did need to put experience in the cooking pot. It's just not shapeless. It's not a shapeless recipe. It has to be put in the exact order. I was sat here genuinely thinking, how do you put experience into it if it can't be crafted? It's actually a very simple fix, just not a shapeless recipe. Anyways, we will combine both of these into a lifestone, and if we now set up the recipe for the dragon heart, we should have everything in our system to craft one of these. Now, if we just throw this into our world engine, we don't have any slots left. Now, I could take stuff out. However, upgrading this guy to advanced would be much easier. So we'll head on up, upgrade him with advanced capacity upgrades, and then we can just throw that in there. So I'm going to sit up here just in case this recipe does mess up, but it should be fine by all means. If I craft 1 dragon heart, we have everything in the system to do so. World engine seems to be working. Perfect. It took a second there. And fantastic. We now have a single dragon heart. Now, obviously, we want to duplicate this immediately. So we got 4 hearts. And with these 4 hearts, what we can finally do is make our awakened draconium chicken, who has been sitting on our sidebar here for days, if not weeks at this point. Also, we can make the Timey Wimey chicken, so we're probably going to do that here too, just because we can do the both of them. And honestly, we can make the chaos chicken. No, we can't. We need chaotic to do chaos chicken. So unfortunately, we can't do that quite yet, but we can do the awakened draconium chicken, and we can do the Timey Wimey chicken. This, yeah, we have everything for this guy. That's not an issue. Perfect. So we'll get to this, maybe this episode, maybe next episode, who knows. But I want to do the awakened draconium chicken so we can have an infinite draconium ingots without ever having to worry, which means we also need to set up crafting for the tier 9 souls, which we have, thankfully. These recipes are a lot quicker. thankfully, but we will just speed it up with the temporal pouch either way, get ourselves some awakened draconium blocks. And now these also provide Eterna to our bookshelves if we wanted to for some reason. We don't need we don't need it for any reason, but it does if we wanted it to, which is kind of cool. Never noticed that before about awakened draconium. But if we craft some tier 9 soul seeds, this just means we need 6 tier 9 souls. So I should be able to craft 6, I believe. Perfect. Now this should just take a bit of time, not too long, luckily, or a lot longer than we thought. There we go. And 4 of these will be used to make the seed itself. So now we have tier 9 seeds, thankfully. And 2 of them will be used to make the draconium chicken, which also requires small chaos fragments, which technically we have. I mean, we do have. It's not technically, but we shouldn't technically have them in all fairness. It also requires 2 awakened feathers, as well as 4 draconium blocks, like so. However, what it does require is draconic fusion injectors, and 12 of them for that matter, not just 8 but 12, which unfortunately means we actually need 4 more injectors, and I'm pretty sure 12 is the max we will ever need, but we may have to come back and make some more later. But for now, we'll just speed this guy up and spam craft, like so. And then we will take all of these guys and set up this recipe. But this does mean we need some more awakened draconium blocks, which means I probably should make some more before I take this down, and that should be enough. So if we put our injectors in our world engine, we should be able to craft all 12 of them, no problem. Oh, we need to add substitutions for this guy. If I place them all down, yes, perfect. Now they're stackable, and if we throw that back in our world engine, hopefully these are craftable now. Now we're missing 12. Okay, why? Oh, it's because contents are saved. Can I throw that into our crafting recipe? What do you mean contents are saved? There are no contents in these guys. If I change them to single item mode, no, they still stack. Content saved. How do I change that? I wonder if I could just craft it manually. That's annoying, but I guess we will. I guess we will just craft them manually up at the world engine. Unfortunate, but because contents are saved for some reason, it's bugging out. I'm not sure what's causing that exactly. However, those should be back in our system soon, and fantastic. And now something very simple like this, we can go ahead and place all of our blocks in there. I will do single item mode just for now, and then we can just right click them all in like so. I do need to duplicate these seeds really fast. Then we'll replace those and throw a single draconic chicken in the middle. And there we go. So slowly but surely that guy will craft. And we also need to replace all of the seeds in our farm with tier 9 seeds now, which isn't hard by any means. It's just annoying that we have to do this. So we'll break them all. And as you see how fast these grow, which is very fast, almost too fast one would say, and avoid upgrade. Otherwise we will have a lag issue, a severe one. However, that should be all the tier 9 seeds down. And I believe this should automatically work. I haven't actually checked. But if we empty these roosts here of seeds, yes, perfect, okay. So as the other roosts empty out, eventually, of the tier 8 seeds, they will also be filled in, but these are the ones we importantly need, and the first one will be our beloved Awakened Draconium Chicken. Now, this requires 50,000 experience per level. That's not an exaggeration, it requires 50,000 experience per level. Now, luckily, we can set up a trainer really fast, and I mean genuinely really fast, to simply export tier 9 seeds into this guy, and that will go in. We'll train our chicken slowly but surely, and with 4 acceleration upgrades, that should be plenty fast enough. Hopefully, yes, perfect. And then we'll just sit here, pouch him up, and slowly but surely he will upgrade to level 128. So we'll be back once that's done. It shouldn't take too long, honestly, considering how fast this is already going. And here it goes. 26, 27, 28, 128 levels into this guy immediately. It is pretty fast, but it still took 3 full uses of 256x, but we will throw him beside our friendly guy here. This will produce us awakened draconium ingots, slap it in there, and then that will fill up. Perfect. So now, all we have to do is set up a recipe to craft these into blocks and nuggets. There we go. We now never have to make dragon hearts or awakened draconium again. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure we're done with this, because I don't believe dragon hearts are used for anything other than the shield module. Yeah, that seems to be it. Oh, and the chaotic fusion crafting injectors. Okay, fair enough. But we will need them for a few other things, it seems. However, we now have infinite awakened draconium, so we can actually remove the chicken from our bookmarks, and now we are simply left with 4 chickens. Antimatter chicken, which will be the first one we make, because this guy will produce us antimatter pellets, and that requires our first 10 antimatter to be used to make an antimatter chicken. Now, I don't actually know if this is useful or not, considering how little antimatter we might need in this pack. We only need the one for the black hole, as far as I can tell. So maybe this is useless, because I don't actually, you know what? I think that is really dumb to make. Like, we might make it in all honesty, but I don't think we need the nucleosynthesizer for anything other than making the antimatter chicken. No, we legitimately don't. Okay, so there is no use for antimatter outside of making a single black hole. So to be honest, we should use our first antimatter to make the black hole, and then after that we can do whatever we want. Also, we could finally make stable antimatter, which is an unlimited food source and the best food source in the game for unearthers. So, you know, once we set up the particle accelerator, we could get into this a bit as well. Now, to be honest, I don't see a reason we don't set up a neutron collector right now. I know that is part of the upcoming quest line anyways, so we may as well do it. And this is just a bit of ore tech, which we've already pretty much done everything for. Oh, okay, I've noticed one issue. We don't have uranite crystals, obviously, because they don't grow, which means we actually need the particle collider to make plutonium dust, because there isn't another way to get plutonium dust. Also, I have noticed, create occult engineering. Create occult engineering, what is this? Interesting. All right, what I have noticed is unfortunately we need plutonium to craft this guy, which means we do need the particle accelerator no matter what we want to do in the future here. So that means we will have to set up the particle accelerator first, which means I'm going to leave that until the next episode once we have all of this set up properly. We'll throw that in our assembler for what it's worth, but yeah, we're not going to set up the particle accelerator just yet today. However, all of these things should be easily craftable. Unfortunately, none of them are duplicatable, but we should be able to make these pretty comfortably, hopefully, once we get there. But yes, we will do the entire particle accelerator next episode. Now, since we're not doing the particle accelerator today, which is the next line of the quest on the other side, what I can do is get the major upgrade for our world engine, which will give us a gift of stone, which I do love opening. So I guess we'll do this, which means we need 378 awakened draconium blocks, which isn't too bad at all. Very easy. And I need like 800 draconium blocks, so let's just go with 800. And then we needed core stabilizers, so we need 32 of those. And that should be everything to craft the draconic core. Now, I believe this will allow us to have like whatever the power storage amount is for the draconic core. If we head to the world engine, I can actually show you exactly where this is going to go. So this energy core here doesn't store any power as is, but we can upgrade this guy, and that is what these blocks are going to be for. So we'll head to this location and speak with our friend over here. Okay, so that is it. Enjoy unlimited power, and his shop has been upgraded with an eclipse alloy and a gateway of endless apothic invaders. And this also gives us a sigil of supremacy, which overcharges every affix on an affix item. We don't need this, I'm pretty sure. We can do this manually with experience. But yes, that's what the gateway of endless apothic invaders would give us. Every 100 waves, it would give us one. Cool. Okay, we might buy one of these just to test it out later, but for now, what we'll do is head back to our world engine, grab ourselves a gift of stone, blaze gold helmet. Okay, we can't use that, very useless. We'll collect our coins and build the world engine. And there we go. So now we are surrounding the core with the max upgrades, and this is going to have unlimited energy. Like, we are going to be able to store so much energy in this reactor. Well, not reactor, but power storage unit. And yeah, we don't currently have any way to store power inside of it. However, we can change the color of it, which I love doing. Haven't done this in so long, but I do like a nice purple on the outside and a deep like red in the middle, or like a pinky hue in the middle, something like that. Fantastic. Now, what's cool is we could technically store power inside of the energy core here. I will say this does look fantastic. Unfortunately, like I said, our world engine did break, but it does look fantastic up there. But yeah, we could technically use this to store power. Unfortunately, this doesn't upgrade our world engine like power storage itself, which is kind of unfortunate. It would be cool if the buffer inside was also 20 quadrillion, but I mean that would also just drain all your power, so I'm not sure how useful that would actually be. But yeah, we do have this beautiful energy core stored above our thing, and we could make one of these back at our base as well if we wanted to. However, I'm not entirely sure what exact crafts this allows us to do, but I will say I have to assume they are the crafts we're trying to do. Other than making the infinity tools, I don't exactly see what we needed this upgrade for, and it could just simply be the infinity tools, which is perfectly fine. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. But other than, like I said, other than the infinity tools, I haven't found an actual use for this upgrade specifically, just from my brief looking through the world engine crafts. But yeah, when it comes to making the Hoe of the Green Earth or the Sword of the Cosmos or anything like that, we will need this, obviously, but we don't even have infinity ingots yet, so that's beyond our reach. Now, I guess what we can end this episode off on is actually making the Timey Wimey chicken, which we have everything for. It's just the advanced machine upgrades. However, this does require a bit of time fluid from us and some liquid meat. Now, liquid meat we can just make in the slow melter, luckily, or we can set up a smeltery for it as well. but our smeltery is currently in use for blaze, so I'm not even going to bother with that. So we'll simply set up the recipe for this guy. Okay, for some reason, my lava and water chicken frame doors just broke. I don't even know how to explain that. What? How? I mean, that just doesn't even make sense. Like, what? Okay, cool. We just lost hundreds of thousands and millions of eggs for fun, I guess. Very bizarre. What terracotta did we use in the middle? Is it the curled? No, it's starry. No, it is the starry. Okay. So I guess I'll make this again. Oh, we got to set the things. Whoops. Why is my lava chicken just not producing lava eggs now? Oh, no, it is. It's just so slow. I forgot how bad this was. Okay. Hopefully that means our recipes now work. I should be able to make a slow melter. There we go. Fantastic. Slap this guy down. Melt some pork. Okay, this just simply isn't even working. What? What are we doing? There we go. Okay. Once again, can't be shapeless apparently. We'll grab a bucket of meat, right-click it into our system, dump it in, and hopefully, now what we can do is set up this recipe. So we have everything except the cuckoo clock, I believe, is the only thing we should be missing, and that is a very simple craft as well. All that's left to craft is the time fluid, which we should also be able to set up a recipe for, like so. And I believe we already have polymorphic setup in this guy. Yes, we do. Perfect. So if I make myself some time fluid, let's say 10 buckets, that should go ahead and craft, assumedly, so long as there's no errors. Oh, there's no acceleration cards in that. I was like, why is this taking so long? Should be a very fast craft normally. There we go. And with our time fluid, we should be able to make our Timey Wimey chicken. What are we missing? We're missing void flame fuel and Fortron infused blocks. That's a simple fix. Now the void flame fuel is kind of annoying because if you remember, we made 10 buckets worth, but we accidentally placed a block inside of one and ended up with 9. And we're missing one single bucket. Now, fortunately, we should be able to simply do this and make one really fast. But this is kind of annoying that we have to do this because we simply messed up once. One mess up by placing a block in the wrong spot. But we can make one bucket of unrefined and then refine this as well. And like I said, we will eventually set up automation for all of this just in case we need more void flame fuel. But the automation process for this guy is kind of annoying to set up, considering all the steps that are required for it. But with that done, Timey Wimey chicken should be craftable. No, Fortron infused blocked. That's right. Oh, we can just craft one. So what we'll do is we'll set up this recipe, and then we'll set up that recipe as well. Timey Wimey chicken, craft away. And let's watch this. Everything should be there, and it shouldn't take too long to craft, hopefully. Here's hoping. It's looking good, potentially. Also, we need to set up a soul surge for all of our machines, mainly our world engine, though. That is the big one. I definitely want to set up soul surging for our world engine, which means we need to suck some wardens for their souls. However, this is having an issue, so I just want to go see what the problem is. Oh no, it's just a very slow recipe. So yes, this is a very good reason why I want to set up a soul surge for this guy, because it is horrendously slow. Unfortunately, speeding this guy up messed with the temperature requirement, so that was an issue. It just takes a long time, but we'll head back home and it should be done by the time we get back. There we go. Timey Wimey chicken acquired, which means another time to train our chickens. So speed it up and get ready to craft. Now I will grab myself some time crystals. Oh, apparently that's quest complete. We've never put them in our inventory to this point. What I want to do is just throw them inside this drawer here so that we don't mess up anything. Also, I still don't know why these are broken. It actually makes me really mad that they broke. But we'll just let this guy craft up really fast and it shouldn't take too much time at all. Timey Wimey. Man, every time I say the words Timey Wimey, I almost squirm inside a little just because, like, why is it named the Timey Wimey Chicken FTV team? Like, why? We could have named it anything, but we named it the Timey Wimey Chicken. In all fairness, this could be the Roost team that named it this, but part of me thinks it was the FTB team that made this. Nevertheless, we have the Timey Wimey Chicken acquired. This guy will make us time crystals, and now we have infinite of them. Fantastic. Now, what's really cool is these will give us our time fluid that we need. Now, the time fluid itself is used to craft infinity ingots, infinity catalysts, as well as the neutronium compressor. However, what we can also do with time crystals is make ourselves a time wand and then change that to an advanced time wand. Now, as someone who's never used just dire things outside of FTB Skies most recently, I've never actually automated time fluid or setting up your time wand to be automatically filled. I believe using a player accessor, as I can see my inventory in this thing, I should simply be able to set a crafting card, not fill my inventory with player accessors, but that does work as you see, but I should be able to drag time fluid in here and it should fill into my advanced time wand, potentially. No. What if we set this to, no, they're all inventory slots. What if I have to hold it potentially? No. Time fluid also does not go in. Okay, well that's unfortunate. I thought that would work. For what it's worth, we can fill our time wand manually like this, but that is a ridiculous way to fill it, especially with 8,000 buckets needed to fill this guy. So that is just not a valid or foreseeable way to fill it. I'm not sure how to fill it to my inventory, because I assumed this player assessor would allow me to automatically fill my time wand. And I feel like it should, no? Am I crazy? Am I crazy for thinking that? Because now we can speed up blocks like this. 256 times. How much did that use? That used, wow, that barely used anything for 30 seconds of 256x. That's kind of crazy. And that is on max. That barely used any time fluid. Wow, okay. This is much better than the temporal pouch, but both of these in combination might be able to make something ridiculous. And I almost want to test it on this chicken trainer once we get the necessities for it. However, it is still weird that this isn't working. What if I throw it in my offhand and set all of these to offhand slots? Will that work? No, it doesn't. Okay. Well, let me know in the comments below if you guys know of a method to automatically fill our time wand, because I figured that would work, but unfortunately it doesn't. I wonder if the regular time wand could be filled like this, just out of curiosity, because it could just be a conflict with the just Dynathanes? No, this also can't be filled this way. Okay, fun fact. You never know. Well, we may not be able to automatically fill our time fluid wand. However, we now have it, and it is absolutely massive thanks to our giant glove. Yeah, I do hope you guys enjoyed this episode nevertheless. It was a bit of a intermediate episode. We got to meet our new friends at the event horizon, and we also did two more chickens, which is the Awakened Draconian one and the Timey Wimey chicken, and it allowed us to upgrade our world engine with the Draconic core. Now, in the next episode, like I said previously, we will get the building done for our base. I will have a time lapse at the beginning of the episode. Not sure when that episode will be up. Unfortunately, it will take me a long time to build, but we will get the building done, and then we will progress through and get the particle accelerator and look forward and see what else we have to do in the pack. However, I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like on the video. It means a lot. If you don't want to miss any future uploads, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to tell me anything, like such as how to automate the time wand, leave it in the comments below. I do appreciate them, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye!